The film begins by showing a courtroom scene where a trial is taking place for a mafia boss named May-kun. At that time, he is being accused of running an illegal business. During that trial, he was accompanied by his lawyer named Sheena. In an attempt to clear his name, she asks Lee-do, who is both her lover and a subordinate of May-kun, to pose as a priest and act as a witness supporting May-kun. It turned out the trial gained significant public attention due to the horrifying nature of the crimes committed by May-kun. Previously, he had done lots of bad things. Then, to maintain order and prevent chaos surrounding the court, SWAT troops led by Dong-gu are deployed. At that time, Dong-gu was joined by his junior, Kang-kun, in the mission to secure the trial. Soon after, at the courtroom, the trial took a chaotic turn when May-kun's men barged in, armed with rifles, and attacked the judges. Although instructed not to intervene, Dong-gu heard the gunshots and immediately ordered his team to handle the riot. Meanwhile, back in the courtroom, after successfully eliminating the judges, Sheena and Lee-do approached the imprisoned May-kun. There he appeared satisfied with his men's performance, believing that Sheena and Lee-do would soon release him. Little did he know, the two of them had actually planned to get rid of their boss. Soon after, Sheena threw grenades, destroying the iron bars and shattering the room. Afterward, Sheena, Lee-do, and the rest of May-kun's men left the courtroom, masquerading as victims to avoid arousing suspicion from Dong-gu and his troops. However, Lee-do accidentally dropped his gun, causing Dong-gu to realize their true intentions. Soon after, the group immediately launched an attack on Dong-gu's troops, resulting in Kang-kun sustaining a serious leg injury from enemy gunfire. Then, Dong-gu ordered his partner to find safety while he confronted the intruders alone. Shortly after, Dong-gu skillfully disabled the remaining criminals within the building. Meanwhile, Sheena and Lee-do sought refuge in a room, hoping to evade Dong-gu's pursuit. To their surprise, Dong-gu entered the room only to discover that Kang-kun had been taken hostage. Then, to protect his fellow soldiers, Dong-gu reluctantly lowered his weapon and raised his hands, concealing a small grenade. Knowing that, Lee-do attempted to immobilize him, and as Sheena aimed to shoot Dong-gu, her bullet missed and struck her lover instead. In the chaos, Dong-gu threw his prepared grenade, which unexpectedly exploded right in front of his face, causing severe damage to his eye. Meanwhile, Sheena grieved over the loss of Lee-do until she was apprehended by the arriving relief troops. After the incident, the doctor who examined Dong-gu's injured eye revealed the devastating news that he would be permanently blind. From that moment on, he embarked on a journey of learning Braille. One day, while listening to a news report about the courthouse incident on television, Dong-gu heard people blaming him for ordering his troops into the chaotic building. Overwhelmed by the memories, he lost control and ran into the street, even smashing the windshield of a passing car. As a result of his actions, Dong-gu was arrested by the police. Fortunately, Kang-kun, his former police partner, came to his aid and worked on getting him released. Meanwhile, Xiaomei, Dong-gu's daughter and still a student, rushed to the police station upon hearing about her father's arrest. At that time, Xiaomei was Dong-gu's sole reason for surviving, as she was his only family after his wife's passing. As time passed, Dong-gu slowly began to accept his situation and started to overcome his despair by engaging in various activities he used to enjoy before losing his eyesight. One of those activities involved picking up Xiaomei after school. One day, while he was waiting to collect his daughter, he noticed that his hearing had become remarkably sharp. He could detect the sound of a ball being thrown and even catch it swiftly. Meanwhile, Xiaomei, who witnessed this incredible feat, became ecstatic, and she decided to throw a whole bunch of balls from a nearby box at her father. To everyone's surprise, Dong-gu effortlessly detected the movement of each thrown ball and accurately caught them, just like someone with normal vision. A little later, Xiaomei's school organized an orchestra performance, and she was chosen to play the violin. Dong-gu, along with other parents, attended the performance. However, as the performance began, he felt a sense of unease. He couldn't hear his daughter's familiar violin playing, which he had heard every day at home. Worried, he hurriedly left the theater in search of his daughter. There, Donggu tried to contact Xiaomi, and eventually he heard her desperate cries for help. She had been kidnapped by an unknown group of people. Shortly after Donggu reported Xiaomi missing, the police informed him that they had discovered the body of a female student. However, upon examining the body, Donggu insisted that it was not his daughter. Despite his denial, the police found Xiaomi's belongings at the location where the body was found, indicating that it was indeed Donggu's daughter. Hearing this explanation, he refused to accept it and lashed out at one of the police officers present. He suspected that the kidnappers had purposely created a scenario surrounding Xiaomi's death to prompt the police to quickly close the case. Meanwhile, Shi Na, who had been sentenced to prison for her involvement in the courthouse incident, was being transferred to a new prison. She had been moved 7 times before due to causing trouble whenever she tried to defend herself from those seeking to harm her. Upon arriving at the new prison, Shi Na found herself in trouble once again, this time with an inmate who had been paid by Zhe Kun, the son of Mei Kun, seeking revenge for his father's death. Sensing imminent danger, Shi Na quickly retaliated against the inmate, leading to her immediate arrest by the prison guards. While in custody, she watched a news broadcast about the kidnapping of Donggu's daughter. It was then that Shi Na hatched a plan to use Donggu as a means to track down Zhe Kun. After Shi Na's assault, she was transferred to another prison under tight security. Despite being chained, she remained composed. Suddenly, while in the car, there was an explosion, causing chaos. Seizing the opportunity, she used the accident as a chance to break free from the chains that bound her. Meanwhile, outside the damaged car, Zhe Kun's men had already prepared their weapons to carry out the orders and eliminate Shi Na. However, to their surprise, she has not only survived the explosion, but also fiercely fought back, incapacitating all of Zhe Kun's men. Back at his headquarters, Zhe Kun, enraged by the failure of his men to eliminate Shi Na, vented his anger and mistreated them. Shortly after, one of his assistants entered the room and informed him of their success in capturing Xiaomi, who would be one of the girls they intended to sell. Hearing that, Zhe Kun's face lit up with joy upon learning that Xiaomi was none other than Donggu's daughter. Meanwhile, Donggu was taken back to the police station due to his attack on a police officer at the location where the body of a girl, suspected to be Xiaomi, was found. After some investigation, he was being escorted by several police officers. However, to everyone's surprise, he launched an attack on one of the officers guarding him. He then persuaded another officer, who was in the driver's seat, to take him to a safe location. Little did Donggu know, Shi Na was disguised as one of the policemen escorting him. Arriving under a bridge, Shi Na, posing as a police officer, struck a deal with Donggu. She promised to reveal the whereabouts of all the women captured by Zhe Kun's group, who had kidnapped Xiaomi. In exchange, Donggu agreed to help her launch an attack on Zhe Kun. Soon after, they devised a plan for Donggu to pose as a middleman, offering to sell Shi Na to the person who typically supplied young women to Zhe Kun. Upon reaching the fenced location, Donggu, with Shi Na concealed in the trunk, informed the guard that he had a young woman with him. After a brief inspection, they were granted entry. There, Donggu encountered an elderly woman responsible for the administrative tasks, while Shi Na was taken to a detention area. Once Donggu finished the administrative procedures related to Shi Na's supposed sale and prepared to leave, the elderly woman unexpectedly pulled out a weapon and tried to attack him. Reacting swiftly, he seized the gun and fought back against the woman who intended to kill him. Determinedly, Donggu raced towards the secret room where the captive women were held. However, he was swiftly ambushed by several men and ended up being overpowered. Eventually, he was taken to a room where Shi Na was suspended upside down above an aquarium. Not long after, the owner of the shelter, Long Wang, arrived on the scene, furious to see Donggu and Shi Na causing trouble. With Donggu bound in chains, Long Wang relentlessly questioned him about the whereabouts of his daughter, pointing a gun at him. Just as she was about to fire the gun, Donggu, alert to the slightest movement, swiftly evaded the shot. He valiantly fought against the guards in the room, but soon found himself overwhelmed by Long Wang's men. In a moment of resilience, he managed to rise up. launching a counterattack and ultimately saving Shi-na by smashing the aquarium that was meant to drown her. After freeing themselves from their restraints, Shi-na confronted Long Wang, resulting in the owner of the shelter getting injured. Taking advantage of the chaos, Donggu used broken glass from the shattered aquarium to intimidate Long Wang into revealing Xiaomi's whereabouts. However, before Long Wang could say anything, they suddenly heard the approaching sound of police sirens. In a desperate move, Shi-na pushed Long Wang's body, causing Donggu to unintentionally injure him, resulting in his demise. Meanwhile, at Zhu Kun's residence, Xiaomei was instructed to showcase her violent skills in front of him and some potential buyers watching online. Enchanted by her beautiful performance, these potential buyers expressed great interest in acquiring her and even offered a substantial amount of money for her. Delighted by the prospects, Zhu Kun's satisfaction was short-lived. After the auction concluded, he attempted to make advances towards Xiaomi before she would be handed over to the winning bidder. However, she fiercely defended herself by striking him on the head with her violin, further infuriating him. Fortunately, he refrained from harming her, as he didn't want her to sustain injuries that might decrease her selling price. On another occasion, Zhu Kun requested assistance from one of the women to shave his beard. Due to a small mistake, the woman accidentally cut his face, which enraged him. In his anger, he sadistically tortured her with the same razor she had used. Shortly afterward, his uncle, Si Han, arrived and informed Zhu Kun of the news of Long Wang's death. At the same time, Zhu Kun received a call from Shi-na, who threatened to meet him and end his life. Knowing of Shi-na's past actions as a mafia member, he began to panic and implored Si Han to help eliminate Shi-na as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Shi-na and Donggu had found a temporary hideout in a rented house. At one point, a suspicious policeman attempted to investigate the place, and Shi-na, sensing someone spying on her, reacted swiftly by sticking a kitchen knife into the doorknob. At that time, the policeman's hand got injured as a result. Soon after, Si Han's men arrived, forcefully breaking down the door and attacking Shi-na and Donggu with rifles. Refusing to be defeated, they intentionally caused a gas leak, leading to an explosion that incapacitated Si Han's men. Soon after, Shi-na and Donggu seized the opportunity to escape from the premises. However, Si Han and his armed troops were already there, ready to attack them. There, Shi-na confronted Si Han's men, while Donggu faced off against Si Han himself. Recognizing Donggu's heightened sensitivity to sound, Si Han attempted to confuse his hearing. But Donggu had a plan. He decided to use a rope to jump from the floor to a lower level in the building. However, Si Han, unwilling to accept defeat, pursued Donggu downstairs. But it turned out Donggu was prepared. There, he uses the rope as a weapon and skillfully maneuvered it to trip Si Han, causing him to fall to his knees and eventually faint after attacking Donggu. After incapacitating Si Han and his men, Shi-na and Donggu hurriedly made their way to the storage area where the abducted girls were kept. Unfortunately, Xiaomei was not there as she had been taken to Zhu Kun's house for immediate sale. Meanwhile, Donggu, who had Si Han as his captive, attempted to interrogate the mafia member for information on Zhu Kun's headquarters. However, the interrogation proved unsuccessful. It was then that Shi-na demonstrated her own methods of interrogation, resorting to violence and torture against Si Han. At that time, Donggu was taken aback by Shi-na's actions, realizing that she was not a real police officer. She was a woman driven by vengeance after losing her lover during the courthouse incident. Then, as the two of them argued, Kang Kun suddenly appeared and urged them to surrender to the authorities immediately. At that moment, Shi-na saw this as an opportunity and struck a deal with Donggu. She promised to reveal the location of Zhu Kun's headquarters if Donggu agreed to eliminate Kang Kun. Hearing that, Donggu reluctantly agreed, but he aimed to only injure Kang Kun without causing his junior's death. Sometime later, Donggu accompanied Shi-na to meet a weapons dealer whom she had dealt with before. However, when the arms dealer failed to provide her with the desired weapon, she swiftly shot and killed him without hesitation. At night, they hurried to Zhe Kun's heavily guarded residence. At that place, Sheena fearlessly attacked the guards stationed at the front of the house, wielding the weapons she had acquired earlier. Meanwhile, Donggu confronted the guards inside the house. At the same time, Zhe Kun toyed with Xiaomi, taunting her by restraining her with a chain around her neck. Annoyed, she defiantly declared that her father would come to save her. Upon hearing news of the attack on his residence, Zhe Kun panicked, hastily grabbing Xiaomi and his assistant as they fled the room. Then he ordered his assistant to deploy more guards in an attempt to thwart the attack, but the assistant refused, choosing not to interfere as he walked away. Feeling cornered, Zhe Kun resorted to attaching a bomb to Xiaomi's body. Unbeknownst to him, Sheena had positioned herself behind him and swiftly shot him dead, putting an end to his reign of terror. After doing revenge on those who had mistreated her during her time in the mafia, Sheena devised a plan to seek retribution from Donggu for the death of her lover. There she took Xiaomai hostage, binding her upside down. Meanwhile, Donggu tirelessly searched for his daughter's whereabouts, eventually discovering that Sheena had taken her captive. Then, as they faced each other, their guns drawn, he swiftly threw a small grenade at Sheena, ending her life with a single shot. Without wasting a moment, Donggu rushed to save his daughter, who was on the verge of falling. Thankfully, he managed to grasp the chain that held Xiaomi, preventing her from plummeting. Realizing that his daughter was carrying a bomb, Donggu promptly inspected and successfully deactivated the detonator. In the closing scene, the police arrived to secure the area. At that moment, Donggu, filled with joy, was grateful that he had succeeded in saving his beloved daughter. The film ends. The moral lesson from the film is when you face danger, remember to always carry a kitchen knife, because you never know when you might need it to defeat bad guys and save the day.